Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bonding with the Yours.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our page again. This is the Both is Yours. My name is Daniel. It's my wife Lonnie, and we are here in episode 2, right?
So,
Episode 2 of Bonding with the Both is Yours. Like we said before, there's a lot that we want to talk about. There's a lot that we want to, just discuss and have conversations, and for you to bond with us. All right. And I just want to give the disclaimer. You might hear a little noise in the background. That's just our baby Ezra just bonding with us as well. It seems like, he wants to join with us in the conversation. So just don't mind him. So I wanted to do this. I think I'm going to try to do this each and every time, we have a conversation. I just want to open up with like an icebreaker kind of question. And I asked you this before, but I forgot. I honestly forgot what your answer was. I think you were just like in between. But so would you rather have heat in the summer or AC in the winter?
oh my gosh. So, just to,
I forgot.
guys,
I honestly forgot what you
Dane's been
said.
doing this thing lately and like just randomly asking me would you rather questions. And they've been like blowing my mind because questions like that, like, it's like for me, I personally do not like being hot and I hate being cold. Like, I'm a summer baby, so I hate being cold. But I feel like the answer that I went with, first I was like, nah, I'd rather take heat in the summertime. But then I thought about it and I'm like, I'll take being cold in in the AC, right? That's what it was.
AC in the winter.
AC in the winter because
Uh,
I feel like if I'm cold, then I could just like throw in a whole bunch of hoodies, throw in some socks, and be good and find a way to warm myself up, get under a cover. But if I'm hot, if you hot, you just hot. Like, it's all right, take a cold shower, cool. But then you still come out and it's just still hot. Next thing you know, your hair is all sweated out. For me, I'm natural, so my roots get all puffy. Like, nah, I'd rather just be
okay.
cold. What about you?
The question wasn't for me.
Wow,
It
so
was
you're
for
not gonna
you.
answer.
That was the icebreaker question for you.
All
So
right,
you
cool. All
answered
right,
it.
cool.
Let's.
So next time I'm coming with a would you rather question.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Guys, listen, also, before we jump into what we want to talk about today, do us a favor and subscribe to our channel, like it, comment, share it out.
Yeah.
If you have not checked out the last episode, I strongly advise, encourage you to go back and check the last episode. So you're expected. We unpacked a lot in that conversation, and I thought that it was pretty interesting. And
Absolutely.
also, if you have looked into the episode, leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know some nuggets that you pulled from that episode. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited about today's conversation. Today's conversation is
The
men's.
title is "Men's Weakness versus Women's Strength," or "Women's Strength versus Man's Weakness." That's today's topic for our episode today. So, um, and I believe we're in a society, right, where, it's, you know, the men, the man has to be like, like the strong leader
Mhm.
in a family, in a household. And, especially coming from, you know, uh, a Caribbean background.
Mhm.
For me, I'm Haitian, so like, in a Caribbean household, the man is supposed to be the man. You're not supposed to be displaying any weaknesses, right? You're not supposed to be showing any type of vulnerability or anything like that. But you're supposed to be like, that the strong leader in the household. Um, and you know, if I could be honest, um, I would say that's how I displayed myself, um, to a certain degree, in terms of like, making sure that like, I, show strength, even in times like, I may be, say like tired, like, emotionally, or tired mentally or whatever, but to still like, hold it down,
Mhm.
for the family, for the household. And, knowing, as I start to learn who you are, right? And just like, just in the beginning of our marriage, and where we are now, I felt like God was using you as a means to tell me, hey, there's no need for you to, try to show yourself as, this strong person, like each and every day, each and every season, each and every time. And what God would do through you is really like do a pull and tug, like really start to, you know, deal with just things in my heart, just things like, whatever I may be doing, for me to start to open up and say, hey, all right, Lonnie, I got this going on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got that going on. And so I just wanted to start off with that because, again, in a society where it's kind of looked down upon for a man to show weakness,
Yeah.
it's also kind of looked down upon for like a woman, not for a woman to be like, so strong or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
but seems like, like they're taking over things, like
Mm-hmm.
they're like the strong one out of
Yeah.
the two,
Mm-hmm.
that's looked down upon as well,
Yeah.
so what are your thoughts on that? What comes to mind when you think about that, like a man's weakness, um or a woman's strength, and particularly in a relationship, because again, like it's viewed like that in society, but not understanding that, hey, like if God put two together, one of the reasons why is God knows you're weak in this area,
Yeah.
and now your spouse's or your significant other's strength aids you in that time of weakness,
Yeah.
right? And vice versa. So um I feel like that's just something that's not really spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
So when you were talking, immediately what came to my mind was there's a scripture in the Bible, and I might be paraphrasing, but there's a scripture in the Bible where it talks about how a woman like how the heart of her husband trusts in her.
Mm.
And I feel like in order for like for one, the woman has to present herself a certain kind of way, right? Whether it's you present yourself as you're presenting yourself as a virtuous woman, or just exemplifying the characteristics of God as a woman, like even in your home. I feel like it has to be something where like the heart of your husband is able to trust in you. And what
Mm-hmm.
does that mean? Like the heart of your husband trust in you. I feel like that means that for me, the way that I perceive that scripture is like you can find outside of in the presence of God, outside of prayer, but like in your wife and your spouse, you can find safety there. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to present to be like, of course, the man, you're strong, you're the head of the household, priest of the home, all of these different things. But it's like, and your wife and your significant other, your wife, that should be your safe place. That's where you should be able to let down your guard. That's where you should be able to, like take off your cape and not have to be like Superman all the time, whereas like as a man in society, you have to be strong. Like that's just the characteristics, one of the characteristics of being a man. Like you have to be strong, you have to be able to bear the weight of the world on your shoulder and all of these different things, because that makes you a man.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, your heart, your mind, you should be able to have a sense of rest and
Yeah.
safety in your wife.
Yeah.
And I feel like that does not take away from a man being a man. That doesn't make you any less than a man. It just shows like you are a man because you can be vulnerable. Because
Wow.
there's this
Okay.
stigma, where it's like men, you got to be so macho, you have to be so strong, and that you can't be vulnerable, you can't show weakness. But I think a part of being a man is being able to be vulnerable. And I'm not saying openly, or I'm not saying be vulnerable with the world, but I'm saying with the person that God has entrusted, to walk with you. It's like if God has put two people together, I believe that the Lord knows this person is grace to be able to handle even your weaknesses. Like
Mm-hmm.
this person is grace to be able to carry your weaknesses,
Yeah.
and vice versa, where a woman I feel like, you know, we live in a society that goes hard about like, oh, this soft girl ever and this, that, and the third. And like, oh, to just be able for like for a woman to just be able to be like kind of like, I won't say like trophy wife or like I won't say, but like there's just this, like that's the thing, right? Like this whole soft girl era. But what about those time periods where like the Lord is requiring you to bear your spouse up in prayer, or
Mm-hmm.
be that like, and I'm not saying be the one that's on like the forefront or anything like that, but like just what if it's something where it's like, okay, this is something that's like weighing on the heart of your spouse. As a woman, you should be able to bear him up spiritually. And so I feel like men are allowed to be vulnerable, and I feel like women, like in the time periods where your strength is needed, like that's okay too, and it shouldn't be looked down upon as like, oh yeah, you're like trying to do this or like trying to be in control or whatever. It's just like, no, I'm bearing you up because the Lord knew, hey, you're graced to carry me in this area, and like I'm graced to bear the weight for you in this area too.
That's really good. Um, just an example. I want to use like probably the simplest example. Driving, right? So both I could drive and you could drive, right?
Oh, you think I could drive?
A little bit.
Whatever.
You could get to point A and B. Okay,
Because
so
I'm gonna go back to this conversation, and the next time that we in the car and you on my back about when I'm parking or like when I'm staying in a specific lane, I'm going back to this conversation.
I say you could drive. Parking is a separate conversation.
I can park too. I can park too. It's just
Listen,
parallel parking is something different.
it's a struggle asking you to reverse park. Like no, like
Listen,
that's just,
I am a lady. I don't back in, okay? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't, you're not going to catch me backing into a spot. Like, I don't do that. Like, let me just ease my way into a spot and that's
not
it.
doing the many. Like you gotta do
Whatever. We
you
get into
gotta
the
drive,
spot.
then you gotta reverse.
We
turn
get
the
into
wheel.
the spot. That's all that
We get into the
matters.
spot. That's all that matters. Okay, so there are moments, and to be honest, I consider us to be like a traveling family. Like we got things we got to do, ministry, family related stuff, like
Yeah.
so it's just like a lot that we do where we travel frequently.
Right.
So most of that time, I take the driver's seat, and I
Amen.
drive,
Thank the
and
Lord.
even when I'm tired, even when like I don't feel like driving, like I go ahead and do it anyway because listen, whether it be me feeling like listen, I gotta hold it down. Lonnie's tired. Let me just go ahead and take over the wheel. Um, but I would say I've gotten comfortable to ask, hey, can you drive? Can
or
you?
sometimes I'll just offer
You'll
because I'll
initiate,
see that you're tired.
and my eyes will widen because I'm just so shocked. Like,
Whatever.
wow, is this Lonnie asking to like
whatever.
I've gotten comfortable, just saying, hey, like you want to take over the wheel, you could go ahead and take over the wheel. It doesn't make me any less of a husband and doesn't make me any less of a man if there are times where I'm tired and I can't just drive and I just don't listen, man, we got a long drive home, I don't feel like and you have the capability to do so, to take us home, by all means take us home. I think that's applicable to many areas in a couple's lives, right? Where there are times where the man doesn't have the strength or doesn't have, just the strength to drive home, to drive to a certain location. And if the woman, the spouse, is able, it has the capability or can, go ahead and take us home or take us to a certain destination or take us to a certain location, then by all means, that what other reason would the spouse be there for?
Yeah.
If in a time where one isn't able to, do a certain thing, then like the spouse is able to aid and help in that time,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to use that example because, um, again, for me, it was in the beginning, I would say, like, I was hard headed because, again, I was raised a certain kind of way. You had to be a certain kind of way as a man, in terms of, like, making sure you lead, making sure you're strong, not showing any signs of weakness. And again, it wasn't until I met Lonnie, until I've gotten to know her, how outspoken she is and how adamant she is on, being healthy, emotionally, being healthy
Yeah.
mentally, um, and I just remember there'd be times, I'm like, yo, what does she want from me, man? Like,
Yeah.
I'm minding my business. I come home, I may not, sometimes, if I got a lot going on in my mind, I'm just like, I don't feel like, talking. Like, what does she want from me? Like, at least I'm like, I'm doing what I got to do, like, upholding the crib and things of that nature. But it's like in that time where I didn't understand, um I'm asking, like, yo, what does she want from me? It's the fact that, listen, it's a matter of, it's the both of us.
Yeah.
We're one. So if
Exactly.
one is,
Ezra agrees.
again, yeah, Ezra agrees. So if one is hurting, that means both is hurting.
Exactly.
um if if one is hurting, then both are hurting. Like, I can't be affected by something and you not be affected by it as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of that, and then understanding, being able to discern and say, hey, like, what's going on here, what's going on there? So now it's like there's a synergy, or there's like an understanding of each other, where, okay, if something is going on in a particular season or whatever is going on, that now you step in, or I step in, to really, like, to bear that weight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
so that, like, that when we go through a season, that we endure together,
Exactly.
and the outcome of it, is greater than what we can imagine,
Yeah.
right? I was teaching this recently, um, that, we knew each other since 2020. I knew you. I only knew a few things, but it wasn't, my understanding grew. My understanding of you grew. I've gotten to know you even more when I realized how much you understood who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing the Lonnie that knows me, right, is different than, just knowing Lonnie,
Yeah.
because, you know, everybody, the people group that we have could say, yeah, I know Lonnie. So if I could say, yeah, Lonnie's funny, Lonnie's caring, Lonnie's sweet, everybody could relate to that.
Yeah.
Everybody would know that. But it's different, because it's different when it comes to just you and me, because I
Mm-hmm.
have the privilege to say, I know the Lonnie that knows me in my ups and in my downs, and
Yeah.
all in the in between, all in those moments where it's just like nobody else gets to see that.
Yeah.
Only you know that. And
Yeah.
so now it's like, that's the privilege that I have. And, again, it takes our relationship to another level. So when
Right.
we talk about, like, man's weakness versus woman's strength, basically what the society perceives on how a relationship should be, there's no blueprint. There's
Yeah.
no actual blueprint to it. Like, we're looking at what's seen on the outside, oh, like a strong man and things of that nature, but nobody knows what happens behind closed doors.
Right. So
And when
true.
I step out the doors, when I step outside, and, I have to do what I have to do. Yeah, I have to carry myself a certain kind of way. But when it's all said and done, and, the day is over, and I come home, and I have you to understand, all right, the like, how I feel at the moment.
Yeah.
No, the day got to me.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like drained.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on, and now I'm like, it's a blessing to come home and have someone that understands that, and now you're my safe space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like if we get to understand that more, there would be a lot of powerful, powerful, powerful kingdom relationships
Yeah.
on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I believe that's how God designed it to be. God created Adam. Adam had everything.
Mm.
He had everything in the garden. He, animals, the garden, everything was there. But yet God still had to say, it's not good for man to be alone.
Yeah.
It's not good for man to be alone. None of these things that I've created for you could be your companion.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go ahead and make something. Watch this from your inside.
Yeah.
From your inside, that I will pull something from inside of you and create this being that will be your companion.
Yeah.
This thing that came from inside you,
Yeah.
to mold it, make it to be your companion.
Yeah.
Where now it's like you have a part of you to aid you in this life.
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like
Wow.
it's like it's a privilege, and it's like a blessing to be able to, you know, like speaking in figurative terms, but to let your head down,
Mm-hmm.
to like, be able to unwind and really to be because now in that place, it's like after being depleted as a battery, now you're being charged up to be of full use again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's again, that's just how I believe God's designed it to be. In a marriage and a relationship. Like that's how God's designed it to be. So
yeah, I think also like, so I was thinking about, wow, you said a lot, and I'm trying to figure out like the different things that I want to speak to, but one of the things that I want to mention is um when I think about Proverbs 31, right, like the scripture in Proverbs 31 where it talks about a virtuous woman, and I think that was the scripture where it said the heart of her husband trusts in her. But when I think about Proverbs 31, like virtuous woman, and it describes all of the characteristics of a virtuous woman. It talks about, like her children, calls her blessed, and this, that, and the third, and all that. One of the things that I don't know if people focus on, because sometimes we focus so much on, like, oh, Proverbs 31 woman, and we talk about like the different characteristics, like, like that it speaks about in Proverbs 31. But what the scripture also mentions is that her husband in the city, he's respected and he's honored. It's so interesting. The Bible talks about the characteristics of the woman. It's emphasizing on the characteristics of the virtuous woman. But it talks about her husband, he's respected in the city. He's honored in the city. I feel like, well, this is just like, for me, what I'm pulling from that and how I feel like it just ties into this conversation is because it's like, you can put your best foot forward also, because that, like, to the world you present strong, to the world you present as, and in your household, yes, you present that way as well, but you can, like you said, let your hair down. You can have a safe space. You can, you have someone where it's like, I know that I don't have to always be like this. Like, I don't have to always be strong. Like, I have somebody to bear the weight with me. And one thing I would say is like, just like how you mentioned just about the growth that has happened. Cause I remember in the beginning stages where us walking together and us like in the beginning stages of marriage, where it was just like, hey babe, you don't have to fight alone. We're in this together. Like, you don't have to, whatever it is, if you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulder, you don't have to bear it alone. Like, we're in it together. I'll jump in the ring with you. And when I say jump in the ring with you, I mean like the ring of life. I'm talking about even in terms of like prayer, just being able to just like carry the person, bear the person up in prayer. I feel like for you, like where you mentioned the example of like driving and being like getting to the place where it's like, yeah, you could take over driving. I feel like even for me, where there's this stigma where women, you have to do all of the things, cook, you have to clean, you have to take care of the children, you have to like be that, like the backbone basically of the family, the backbone of the household, right? Like that's something that that society teaches. But for me, like, and like, so that's something that society teaches. But for me, I feel like, for me, one, I would say for me personally, like I saw otherwise growing up. Like I saw like a balance, right? And in the household, like I
Mm.
saw like my father be okay with taking on some things. Like I saw my father be okay with like, oh, whatever, cooking or something, like, you know, his two dishes, curry chicken or stew chicken or whatever. Like
Best curry chicken I ever had, man.
for
Golly.
real, I
Fried
ain't
chicken,
never.
all that.
Yeah, for real. But I've seen like that. Like I've seen like a sense of balance. Whereas for me, coming into marriage, even though that's something that I've seen like growing up in the household, for me, I remember like the example that I would use is during the postpartum period. Like initially with us, like it was like, all right, like cooking was like, it was my thing. Like it was me just like in the kitchen all the time, whatever, like once in a while for you, right? But then when it came to like the postpartum period, for me, I feel like that was something that, like, when I say that I had such a healthy period, and I was nervous about like, man, I don't know what this is going to look like. Like, I know that my life is about to change. Like, I know that our lives is about to change. The way that we know things as usual is really about to shift. And so now, what is this going to look like where, you know, like I'm healing and I'm just all of these different things. Like, what is that about to look like for
Mm-hmm.
our household? And for me, just being okay with, okay, you chefing it up in the kitchen, like being okay with that, being okay with like just little different things that now you started to just the way that you was just showing up in even a greater way, like, not to say before it you've always showed up, but just even in a greater way where it's like in a time period for me where I'm in a vulnerable space and I'm in a time period where I'm healing and I'm in a time period like I'm in like that space where it's like, all right, mentally, emotionally, physically, you just experience something so drastic. And for me, it's just like when I would just, I don't know, like just coming downstairs and like just like, all right, seeing breakfast and like grapes and this and that and like, you know, just the like all of those different, listen, I'm not he's like, come on, you tell
Yeah.
it too much.
You
Like,
just picture like
no, but I'm saying I'm
I
saying
did like
because
twice, like,
wow, babe, really. I'm saying that to say it was not twice. Babe, come on. Like, you still macho. Don't do that. You still a man's man. Like, I'm just saying, like, the put together, the being concerned about, like, my well being, as you knew, like, you know, just healing up, as you knew, like, nursing, doing all of these things, and you just being mindful of all of that. And so just making sure that I was not just physically good, but like mentally and emotionally. Like, I feel like that was something that, like, it made the healing process even the like it made it good for me, you
yeah.
know, like it made it good for me. And there's the stigma where it's like, okay, for women, like, all right, boom, you give birth and like eventually it's like you just snap back to doing all the things immediately
Mm-hmm.
because there's a demand that's put on you as a woman where it's like you have to do these things. But for me, I'm saying like I appreciated that even in the time period where I was a vulnerable time period for me, like you've allowed the space for me to heal, and it didn't take away anything from you, and it didn't make me any less of than my role. You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And
Absolutely.
so I feel like you said, like if we realize, like if we take off the mindsets or these stigmas that society place on men, on women, like take off those stigmas and just like even look at things from um, a biblical perspective, as you mentioned, like how like Adam, what he needed, like the Lord provided him with the helpmate that he needed, a helpmate,
Yeah.
right? Like if we looked at it from that perspective, like this person is here to help alongside of you, like help in life, help with your purpose, help to for you guys to fulfill God's purpose and destiny for your lives together. Like if we seen things from that perspective, like you said, it will be a lot of powerful
Yeah.
kingdom kingdom couples, and also like to understand, right, where it's like, yes, the man is the head, the man is the priest of the home, and head of the household, and all of these things, right? But also understanding that it's not a matter of like, because I remember I saw this one time, like I can't remember what it said verbatim, but it was like, it was something that I saw, that where it was like God didn't
Bless you,
take,
buddy.
bless you, as God didn't take Eve from like from beneath Adam or any, like he took her from his
His
side,
side.
like
Right.
to accompany him, like
Right.
to walk with him, to be
Right.
a helpmate. And
Right.
so it wasn't from like, it was like something beneath him, it was something above him, like, but it was from his side,
Yeah.
for the two to like walk together, for the
Yeah.
two to help, to be a helpmate,
Yeah.
like to replenish, to
To
do
be
all of the
companion,
things,
all of that.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I feel like if we saw things like that, where it's like, we're here to aid one another in this
Absolutely.
life, like you mentioned, it will be a lot of
Absolutely.
kingdom couples.
Absolutely. There's just one more thing I want to mention, because we focus on the weakness part, but I want to talk about, like, just the woman's strength. I believe it's very important to, like, and I'm talking to specifically men, to empower your woman.
Mm.
You know, if you see them walking in strength, you know, get behind that and push them in that strength. I think that's very important, because what God does for one, he does for the two.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the two are one. So now when she's strong in something, we're both strong.
Yeah.
Right. Back to the driving example, you have the ability, or like, you have the strength to go ahead and take us home. We're both in that car. We
Right.
both end up getting to that destination.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So now it's like, I just want to emphasize that, because it's very important for us to strengthen one another. I know I'm saying, like, specifically, okay, women's strength, like, for men to get behind that and push them in that area, but it's both ends, right?
Yeah.
It's vice versa. But focusing specifically on, like, just women's strength, I'm all about women empowerment. I'm all about, like, seeing you, shining, being radiant, like doing your thing, and everything that God's called you to do. Why? Because at the end of the day, that's both of us.
Right.
You represent me. So now, if you going out there, like, doing what you gotta do, and me, I'm like, I'm kind of shy a little bit. I'm like, I like to play the background. At the end of the day, I'm happy and I'm hyped, because you representing me. You representing the both of us. You representing this marriage. So it's just like, you looking good. You doing what you got to do. I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? If anything, it motivates me to make sure that I'm doing my part as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just want to, emphasize that. I think that's very important.
But, and I feel like a woman, like, I feel like you could show up in that capacity when you have that kind of support from your spouse, right? Like, where it's like, it's not a matter of that person suppressing you or stopping you from being everything that God is calling you to be, or doing everything that God is calling you to, but that person pushing you in it, that person supporting you, that person being your biggest cheerleader. Because for me, I know, like, I could just think about times where we've had conversations and like, I'm telling you, like, I might be being vulnerable and sharing with you just like some of the things that I'm feeling as it pertains to just like, even when it's time for me to do certain things, and then just hearing you pour back into me, where it's like, babe, you don't even know, like, do you know, like, just the gift of God in you, or babe, like, do you know, like, just like the ways in which God is going to use you. And it's like, for me, it's like that, it's like the Lord using you to give that push to be like, no, continue on, or like, no, like, move in this, and so, yeah, I feel like a person is able to show up when you have that support from your spouse, like. And the same thing, like you mentioned, and just as you mentioned, I'm good with playing the background, but thank God you have a significant other, a wife that's going to be like, yeah, no, there's more. So
Right.
there's more. And so, I feel like also as a woman, we have, like, as a woman, as a wife, I feel like for us women, we have a responsibility too. Like, we have a responsibility for the man that we're with, where it's like the things that God has called him to, like, the things that God has placed in, and whether it's something that, like, whether it's those things that he's shared with you openly, directly, or whether it's things that, you know, the Lord begins to reveal with you as you are walking with this person, then I feel like it's your responsibility. Women, we are naturally made to give birth to something, right? And so it's like, if a man shares, if your husband shares with you vision, if your husband shares with you ideas, dreams, right, endeavors that he wants to pursue after, it's like, well, how do I help to carry this out with you? Like, how do I help, where, you know, you set the seed, you shared the vision, you shared what it is that you want to do. Now, how do I help to push in this, so that, like, you, like, the birthing happens, you know, so that, like, this, the we see the manifestation of what it is that the Lord has put on your heart to do. And so whether that's like carrying it through prayer, whether that's like accompanying you in the vision, whether that's like, okay, this is what you want to do, this is how I can aid and support, whatever that looks like, it's like you come alongside and you partner with that vision and be like, hey, look, like, I'm gonna help to birth this out, because naturally as a woman, that's what we're supposed to do. So I feel like also, just like for women, it's our responsibility, right, where it's our responsibility to help aid in that, like, and to help to push, to help, you know, for the vision of your husband, the endeavors of your house, of your spouse, to be birthed out. And then also, when you think about, like, just some of the characteristics of a woman, it's like, naturally we're supposed to be nurturers. So, like, to when, like, and that's nurturing, whether it's like, it's whether it's nurturing a child, right, or like some women, they like to garden, not really a gardener type of person, but I'm saying this using that analogy for, like, when you think about seed, like how we're supposed to water, how we're supposed to pour, how we're supposed to, like, be that light, how we're supposed to do these things to make sure that we show up for our husbands. And I feel like, again, like, that's how he'll be able to be, like, successful in the things that he's doing, because there's a strong woman, there's a supportive woman behind him. So I hope you guys pulled something from this.
Absolutely. It was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know, respond, share with us, like, your thoughts or some takeaways in the comments. And just, even if whatever came up for you, share it with us in the comments, right? This is about bonding. So let us know what you guys receive from this.
Absolutely. Again, if you guys were blessed by this, don't forget to like, tag, share, subscribe, you know, just share with your loved ones, share with somebody. Again, like, you know, join us in the comments, bond with us in the comments, you know, let us know what you think. All right.
Alrighty. Well, guys, until next time. Until next time, guys, we'll see you guys.